Welcome and thank you for joining for the webinar, Panasonic's Journey to S/4HANA RISE Brownfield Migration, a program for progress, excellence, and future-ready growth, sponsored by GyanSys. I'm Sean Byers from SAP Insider, and I have a couple of quick announcements before we begin. This session is being recorded, and a copy of today's recording will be emailed to you following the session. If you are joining us live, the webinar is designed to be interactive between you and the presenters. So we invite you to submit your questions using the Q&A chat box at the bottom of your screen. We will answer as many questions after the presentation as time allows. We have a wonderful panel from both GyanSys and Panasonic joining us today. Over to you, Niraj.
Thank you, Sean. Good morning, good evening, everyone, and welcome to join us on this exciting presentation on Panasonic's journey for S/4HANA migration. We are going to cover a lot of aspects on this migration. Typically, when any organization embarks upon this journey, there are a lot of uncertainties, unpredictable elements, and we are going to cover how you can make your S4 journey more predictable, streamlined, and risk mitigated. So next slide, please, Vivek. So my name is Neeraj Sahu. I am VP and client partner from GyanSys based out of Austin, Texas. Been in the industry for about 30 years. Have seen multiple customers migrated to S4HANA in both Greenfield and Brownfield manner. And we are excited to be here today. Raghu?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. This is Raghu Palde. I'm Managing Director S4 Practice in GyanSys and also Enterprise Architect for Finance and Finance Integration. So long years of experience overall, and happy to talk to you and share our journey here.
Thank you.
Anil?
And excited to present Anil, who's joining us from Panasonic Middle East. Anil?
Yeah. Hi, thanks, Neeraj. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anil Kumar Chotapalli, and I'm heading the Business Solutions Department in Panasonic. And today I would like to share all our experiences regarding our S4HANA migration journey. And the next gentleman is Mr. Unnikrishnan, and unfortunately he could not able to join today's meeting. But however, I will cover all the aspects, whatever it is required. Thank you.
Thank you, Anil. Thank you for joining us today. So like I said, we are going to take you through the exciting journey that Panasonic Middle East went through. So we'll start with who Panasonic Middle East is and who GyanSys is as a company, and then go on to discuss what were the business drivers for Panasonic to undertake this project, give you the overview of Panasonic landscape, their approach towards how they designed their whole S4 transformation program for success, talk about details on our project implementation plan, approach, challenges that we face in every step of the journey, and how we achieved a successful go live within the decided time frame of the project. And then end it up with a QA session. We'll make this session interactive, like Sean said before. So please feel free to stop us and ask any questions if there are any. Next slide, please. So start with a little overview of GyanSys. We are a system integration company. We are an SAP Gold partner, focused on digital transformation, providing services across platforms like SAP, Salesforce, Microsoft Analytics, and currently with over 3,000 professionals across the globe, we are capable of executing projects in true global delivery model, leveraging our presence across the world. If you see on the right-hand side bottom, we have locations in North America, which includes US, Canada. In Asia, we have a significant presence, about 2,000 plus people. We are able to deliver a lot of projects from our India, Philippines, Singapore, and Vietnam center using low-cost delivery centers. We are also present in South America with bringing in multiple capabilities, including language capabilities in Portuguese, Spanish, and bringing specific nuances of implementations which hit globally from different angles in our S4 project. If you look at on the left-hand side, we are presenting some of our breakup of our company in terms of the professional strengths, in terms of employees, SAP professionals, Salesforce professionals, testing automation, BTP, and whatnot. Our journey started back in 2005, and we've been growing rapidly since then. We have grown to today with multiple centers across the globe and increasing service lines. We started as SAP as our DNA, but we have evolved with our customers, and now we service several service lines, just like I spelled out earlier. So this is a little overview of GyanSys. We are extremely focused on S4 transformations, and the story we are going to cover today is one of the S4 transformations from one of our 75 plus S4 customers that we have taken successfully onto RISE or S4HANA. Next slide, please. I'll let Anil cover about Panasonic and Panasonic Middle East. Anil?
Yeah. So as you all know, Panasonic is one of the leading consumer electronics manufacturer, located in Osaka, Japan, headquartered in Japan. And Panasonic Marketing Middle East is the regional headquarters, covering the geographical area of Middle East and Africa, where we expanded our business operations in almost 45 countries. And the S4 instance is located at the headquarters, where all the rep offices are using our instance, which is located in Dubai. This is the brief about the Panasonic. And next slide, please. Yeah, the key business drivers are the seamless integration flow of information, industry-leading practices, and as per the Panasonic Global Template. So we have received the Panasonic Global Template from our headquarters. So accordingly, we have drafted our scope, and we have implemented the scope as per the global template. And also, we would like to standardize our business processes as per the best practices given by the SAP. And also to have a scalability for all our future ventures, we need to make our SAP platform robust so that we can be ready for all our future enhancements. And also, we would like to support any of our future strategies which might come across in the future. And mainly to improve our production reliability and employee efficiency with the latest version of S4HANA. And also, we have some limitations in our previous versions of ECC. And with the new functionalities delivered by the SAP, we would like to implement all the our custom workflows into a SAP standard workflows. And also, our landscape is connected to multiple external interfaces where we are having some challenges. And also with this upgrade, we would like to leverage all those limitations. And also mainly with the introduction of embedded analytics, we would like to have our real-time KPI reporting within SAP, so that we will have the real-time reporting for all our for top management reporting. And finally, to improve the efficiency of our KPI monitoring through embedded analytics. Yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, over to you.
Let me cover this approach at a high level. Typically, like I said, when any company embarks upon a large project like S4HANA, there are several uncertainties, several areas which have grown over the period of time in customization of the ECC system. So what is important is to know what we are going to be doing as we execute the project. To that end, what we want to suggest to all our customers is, and that is exactly what Panasonic also did, was to give an assessment of the current state of affairs. It includes multiple dimensions, an assessment of processes, assessments of the custom code that is sitting inside your programs. Recommendations that we provide include what can be the approaches towards de-risking your program. What is that you need to do, from security role optimization to what kind of application that you can actually utilize from Fiori perspective, which is newly introduced in S4 and given a lot more capability by SAP. So overall, it designs your project in a model which allows you to de-risk, know what you're going to be doing, and then piecemeal your project in a fashion that can create predictability for the project. So in this program as well, we did an assessment for Panasonic Middle East. Our team was engaged for 6 weeks, which included several workshops to understand what the current state of Panasonic system is and to map what the future state requirements are, create alignment between the business and IT to understand all of these processes and what will be changing, and then come out with a recommendation whether Panasonic should be doing a brownfield, a greenfield, or a hybrid model for executing this project. So brownfield, as you know, is a system upgrade, whereas greenfield is significantly different, where you kind of re-implement the whole system. There's a big difference between the two, and this assessment gives you a clear path, a clear output for deciding what would be the right approach for your organization, depending on your future vision, depending on the changing scale, changing growth pattern. We recommend how you're going to be successful in taking an S4 transformation. So based on the assessment, in the case of Panasonic Middle East, we recommended Panasonic to do a brownfield migration, which is in general a lot more cost effective as well, if there are no significant business process changes that are expected by the business. So we'll cover more details about this brownfield migration and how the assessment output helped in designing the overall brownfield migration approach for Panasonic, which included things like risk mitigation through sandbox, mocks, how did we go about CBI to BP migration and so forth. And then followed that by hypercare as well as support and enhancement track. GyanSys is also the application maintenance and services provider for Panasonic. So we segued this whole migration to transition the new system to our AMS team, which is a joint team between Panasonic and GyanSys, to be able to continue enhancing and supporting the business users in a risk-free mitigation. So overall, de-risking strategy included understanding what we are, understanding what we need, understanding how we are going to go about it, clearly documenting what we are going to do in the migration, clearing risk mitigated path, and then transitioning it over to the support team to take it forward in a seamless manner. Next slide, please. Just starting a little bit of snapshot of what the Panasonic system landscape was before S4HANA. So as any organization, there were several systems involved, including multiple homegrown systems, satellite systems, third-party integrations, Salesforce, along with, of course, SAP ECC, which is what we were aiming to transform. And then Panasonic also had a SAP BW system for analytics as the data hub. In our assessment, we included a holistic ECC as well as BI assessment that would transform the analytics platform for Panasonic as well, leveraging both the transformational S4HANA capabilities with embedded analytics, as well as how the BI transformation can give them the roadmap for future for BI as well. So the functional areas, as you can see on the slide, typical of many organizations: finance, order to cash, procure to pay. All of these elements were holistically covered during the course of our assessment and brownfield migration. Next slide, please. Yeah. So
thank you, Neeraj. Cool. Thank you, Neeraj. Great story that you covered, and really very details that you have given on the assessment side and how the approach, how assessment helped to really look into the future of how long it would take for the project. I think that's a very great information. So, and in the overall, we have divided entire assessment to two sections. One is that ERP, ECC, and S4 side, and another is completely the BI side. So we did not combine these two because we wanted to look at like a different way that ERP process and BI separately, right? Because the BI was fed by many places. Just ECC was one of the information which was going. So one of the key question was posed by Panasonic was that, hey, I don't want to change anything in my BW, right? Can you support S4 migration with the existing BW, right? That's the way the question was. Then, technical question, we wanted to look at that and see the BA assessment separately. When it comes to the S4 assessment, and as Neeraj pointed out, critically looking into that every aspect of the business and business process, which are there by module, by areas, technically, functionally, and how business users are using the system. And also, one of the key elements that GyanSys does part of the assessment was that not only just looking at like what is there, what is out there, what is coming up, and how does Fury look like. So the visualization of information to the business users will immediately tell them that how S4 would improve their process, and also how can they see that their own data in S4, right? So that's the way we, part of the assessment, we also have shown S4 demos, very customized S4 demos for Panasonic business process, and that way they were able to like really visualize all the changes which are coming. And when we did the assessment by process, then that is the place where we have shown them like how it will immediately fit, where are the challenges which would be requiring changes. So in the entire assessment, it has got very detailed out every business process level. And in this assessment, what are the transformational, like what are the migration aspects, what is the deployment approach we need to cover, that is covered there. And also we also looked at that entire infrastructure for and then like what are the things are needed for changes from the hardware perspective and other software components perspective. And one of the key elements is the deployment strategy. How do you want to go about it, right? What are the cycles that we want to have? So that's the deployment strategy was worked out. And looking at the Fury, what should I do? Like, should I immediately take up the Fury, or should I go with lift and shift with the SAP GUI and later on the Fury? So that's a kind of aspect that we worked out in this particular assessment. And also what are the licensing options, like what are the components which are out of the box license, what are the components which really need an additional license. So that licensing and deployment options also were worked out. And one of the key element is that security role, because in S4 a lot of things are changing, but at the same time, transaction codes are changing, key element of the business partner is changing, and the security role analysis and what is going to change is what is a very important aspect to be covered part of our assessment. And of course, the technical side, custom code analysis is a critical element. Of course, we looked at their custom codes and what are the things which are going to be replaced in S4. So all that custom code analysis that we could complete and have a clear understanding of what is the development effort would be needed when we go for S4. So when it comes to the BI assessment side, we pretty much looked at all the tools that they are using, all the components that they're using, current versions, where the data is coming, what the data is coming from ECC, and how it is going to change when S4 comes, what are the key elements that we need to work on when we are going to move for S4, keeping that BW as it is, or whether to go for a BW for HANA kind of scenarios. Okay, if you go to the next slide, Vivek, here. So the the key element, as Neeraj mentioned early on, so the assessment has given us information as a roadmap, but like how do we tell whether we should go for a brownfield or greenfield, right? So here this is very highest level. This slide shows that highest level, but this is backed up with very detailed elements of the business process underlying the functional areas. And then when we looked at and when we have shown the business what is changing, how the queries apps are assessment was like, again, called out like, okay, general ledger areas, well, brownfield migration would fit everything, right? So like that we kind of like outlined what are the key elements which are driving factors for whether to go for a brownfield or greenfield. In our assessment with Panasonic, pretty much except the credit management area, it's a huge customized scenarios were there. That's the only place where S4 credit management was not really fitting to their business requirement. That is the place where we have seen that, okay, maybe greenfield is the go for that particular business process. And also other areas like where they extensively use profitability, but SAP direction for profitability analysis was more of account-based approach instead of the costing-based approach. So that is the place also, we were, like recommending that whether to go for a greenfield. Of course, like looking at every single scenario holistically, when we looked at, it was unanimously, adapted by Panasonic was to, go for brownfield. That is the way we laid out our, the roadmap itself. And another element that one of the key element came out here, the assessment, is not only visualization by business users, what is coming out, and what are the things that we need to do immediately, right? Like, do I need to do anything right now in order to go for S4 migration? So we identify a lot of projects which are mandatory, like for example, business partner, or like what we need to do for the credit management perspective. What are the things that we need to adapt the custom code analysis information wise, right? So all these are the projects identified, and then we sequenced out in the entire, our S4 journey, this pre-project. Anyhow, these are needed. So we kind of like had the roadmap for completing these along with the S4 migration itself. Okay, so that is a summary of our assessment. Yeah, if you go to the next slide, that's good. So here, implementation scope-wise, as early on we mentioned, like functional process, obviously, OTC, procure to pay, logistics and inventory is there, heavily financials, and of course the profitability analysis and embedded analytics that we talked about. Technical side, these are some of the things are mandatory: CYA migration, custom code analysis, security roles. All these technical scope-wise, all these are outlined. And one of the key element is the technical scope, to keep our scope very within the limit, right? We did not go for S4 BW for ANA, but like remediation of BW and extractors in ECC. That's what like technical scope was, to make sure that BW works with S4, and wherever upgrade necessary elements which are compatible with S4, right? That's a technical scope. Of course, integration perspective, as Anil early on mentioned, they use a lot of satellite systems to integrate back and forth. So then we did not go for BTP business suite for the integrations, but we have remediated all the integrations which are required, whether it is a API integrations, or whether we have middleware like Informatica kind of elements, EDI, IDOCs, like wherever these codes which are needed to change, we remediated and made sure that the S4 system works with their satellite systems. And one of the key element is that obviously, since it's a brownfield, we looked at every element, and then wherever the changes are there, we made sure that the business is engaged and given the training for that, so that OCM is part of your entire plan that we executed, and we engaged OCM as a part of overall journey. As early as assessment itself, we are shown what is coming as a change, and during our development cycles and all that, we ensured that the changes are well communicated to the business. So that was the scope of the project itself. If you go to the next slide, please. So again, now, like just like any other project, the key success factors here. One of the key element is the stakeholder engagement. Obviously, that is very well received. Anil and the team, and also their top level management was all the time involved from their side, from the business side, from the GyanSys side. Also, our top management is always had engagement here to make sure that everything is covered. So that is a very, for any success of the project, that is a very important thing. And one of the key element is that collaboration with SAP, because this is a RISE environment that we did. There's a lot of like back and forth collaboration would be there. So many aspects we need to like work with the RISE team, ECS team, and assess. They do the assessment, and also like they provide a lot of inputs. So this is a very collaboration is very successful aspect which is needed for success, as well as the planning and execution. So the project plan, like we defined more than 400 lines of project plan, and we stick to the project plan meticulously. Every element of the project plan was made sure that is well understood, executed, timing, and we had a visibility of what is slipping early on. Even a small task is missed out, right? That's where the critical success factor comes. And then obviously the execution team with a lot of knowledge in S4. So since GyanSys did a lot of migrations, like we know every step of the way what is coming, particularly in the areas of finance integrations. There are so many things are there. And also, if we encounter in a particular problem, how do you immediately go to SAP for critical things which are not seen by anywhere else? So that's a kind of execution team is very important here. And of course, proper definition of the business process and business, like what is exactly elements that are being seen, and every aspect which is like configured is approved by the business, particularly in the business partner area where the number ranges change. And from the CVA migration side, that business engagement is very much needed there. And another thing is that the comprehensive testing, of course, training, I mentioned a part of the OCM, but the testing, don't like, test only a couple of things, right? Just because brownfield migration, hey, I don't require to test because a couple of things are not changing. But this is not true statement, right? That when we convert the system, you need to just check everything. When I say everything, like even small things like, variants and background jobs, and so every element need to be checked, and the drill downs, whether they are working or not, kind of scenarios that we need to check. So the comprehensive testing is one of the things. And the migration, data migration methodology here, even though it's a brownfield, but again, how do you, like do this migration activities? Like how do you, pre-migration, post-migration, how do you check methodology itself, right? So the finance is like everything penny to penny should match, and object to object should match. It should match by time dimension. It should match by, the entity dimensions, like by profit centers, by cost centers, by GL accounts, and also by customers, vendors. So every element has to be checked, cross-checked financially, nothing is missed out, kind of thing. So that strategy we need to work out. Of course, the OCM and training I talked about. That's, these are the key success factors for this particular project, and we have gone the experience of this particular thing here. So we go to the next slide, please. So this is overall, again, project plan, as I mentioned early on. So we, part of the assessment itself, we had a roadmap, right? So we know exactly what should happen, how long it would take, because the assessment has given the insights into the system, and outlook for what is coming, right? And how many cycles of, the migration has to be done, kind of thing. And then the detailed project plan by every phase here. So since it's a migration, brownfield migration, right? So the phases are more around, your boxes like sandbox and quality box, and then, development box kind of conversion that you do. So every box is almost like you convert and test it. So it's like every box itself is like more of a go live kind of scenarios, right? So, and then we laid out here early on, we did preparation blueprint, like changes are documented by process area, and then they were worked through. And when we have seen certain places where there was a challenge, and then project plan immediately reflected. So we are happy to say that we have gone live on dot, within the budget, on time, like whatever we projected starting the project is the date that we chosen, and we have gone live. So that way, so this is the overall project plan, covers the very highest level. This is backed up with about 400 lines of the detailed project plan. If you go to the next slide, please. So since we have chosen as a S4 migration, it's like more of a brownfield migration. So one of the things that we need to think of is like, when you are setting up these boxes, right? When we say boxes like sandbox, development, and quality, we need to always think of production, right? Because end of the day, this migration is going to be done in production, right? So first and foremost thing is that there is a lot of confusion out there for people, like, what should I do for the sandbox, right? So, well, the approach we have taken is that entire production was copied into sandbox, and we did the brownfield migration in the sandbox. That is the place where it's a learning ground for every element, how S4 look like, right? So the sandbox is done that way, every element. And also here this is the place where we uncovered a lot of unknown things here, and a lot of interaction with the SAP for that. And then once we know exactly what is happening, then pretty much like we kind of like did in development. Obviously, development box, we are not expecting like a production copy, because development is a development. But made sure that like whatever the development system is there, like you do that conversion. Very limited data would be there, limited functional side information would be there. So, but development would give us like the objects to be transported. So that's the place where you have to do that development cycle. So then again, in the quality box is the place where you do real integration testing with the satellite systems, as well as business engagement would be there. They will validate the data. Of course, the production has to be copied here. One of the key element of this entire conversion is that while we are working on every aspect of these different landscape boxes, one information we always take is that what would be our cutover strategy for production, right? So we started preparing the cutover strategy and detailed cutover task list for production, because downtime window for production would be very short, right? So that information that we learn, everything which is sequencing and everything from sandbox to development to quality is like prepared as a task list, and that is executed in the production side. Okay, so couple of cycles, like one cycle for sandbox has given a lot of information, and so then obviously development cycle is a very short time because you don't have much data. Then the quality is the box where we have used for all the testing, outside systems, BI systems, as well as user engagement and the training as well. Okay. If you go to the next slide, please. So one of the element that we need to look at is that, what are the key challenges here? So Anil, you can add here a lot of element as well. So one of the key element that we encountered until sandbox migration, we were not able to see and visualize the problems in the LC, letter of credit migration. Panasonic Middle East is heavily uses the functionality of letter of credit, and the entire letter of credit functionality changed in S4. It's a different kind of a component altogether. We could not visualize that because there was not well documented in S4 circles, even in SAP circles also. But when we looked at it after sandbox migration, we realized that, well, LC migration is a critical component. We had to pull SAP there and go into more detailed information of that, and that is the place where we really face the challenge, right? So that's even in our assessment also we could not find, because it's very technically deep rooted problem. So that unless you do a sandbox migration, we would not have uncovered this at all. So Anil, you would like to add here anything here? This is a great,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes, I mean, regarding the key challenges, like where we have encountered during our migration journey. So the key aspect was like mainly the collaboration with the SAP team and with the SAP RISE team. Because as Raghu has rightly stated that these minor things we could not able to find out even during our assessment, or even during our sandbox migration as well, because the LC migration is like a system dependent. So even when we refresh the data also, we could not able to find out what is the pitfall in the LC migration. And the second one is like the BP migration, because BP business partner is very, very much new for us. And also when we have clearly drafted our number ranges and all, during our cutover time, yes, we had some challenges. But thanks to the GyanSys team as well as our business team, which was available round the clock during our cutover time, where we could able to resolve the issues. I mean, on a real-time basis, and could able to release the system within the planned downtime.
yes. Thank you, Anil. And again, that's a very good elements that you have covered. So, and also there is something called commodity code. The way that S4 operates with the commodity code is changing, and some commodity code field is not even like enabled for change. We cannot even change that field. So that is the place where we had to tweak and do. SAP does give a lot of baddies to work on it, but that's the one critical element we have seen. A lot of data inconsistency in the area of fixed assets. Again, for example, hey, we convert ECC to S4, what is there, everything will come, right? But here, when everything looks green, but at the same time, when you look at the data values such as depreciation elements, then the values do not match, right? So then, we have to go and see what is the problem, and involve SAP also for some of the fixes, and we engage the business also, and then they took stock of the situation. Okay, is it very business critical, or can we live with that particular inconsistency in the interest of the overall program, right? So business also was like weighing in cost benefit analysis of things, right? So but finally, by the time we production, we have known every element of it, and we could address everything. And then of course, one of the key element, I would say it's a consideration is that multiple mocks and exit criteria for your the phases like sandbox and development. If you well document them, and then then exactly what is a success factor of every phase, right? Sandbox, unless I complete everything, as far as the sandbox is concerned, from the validation perspective, we know that we cannot connect every single satellite system to the sandbox, but we defined it as our exit criteria. You don't require to go for satellite system integration in sandbox, but wherever possible, we do have that laid out in our exit criteria. And another element is that downtime planning. Obviously, this is very important because it is impacting the business, and it has to be, particularly in the Panasonic's case, it has to be vetted through by the top level management, because even a half day downtime is very critical. We have to communicate. So because of our detailed project plan and also the assessment inputs and our mocks, we were able to lay out all activities, including the time frame of every single activity which is taking, and we were able to plan, sequence out how this particular from starting to the end of entire production cutover, how long it would take, and we chosen The weekend obviously combined with business communicated downtime, and we were able to complete a little bit earlier than anticipated because of the attention to detail. And another key element here, Anil, you can add here as well, RISE collaboration. So many times we had to go back and forth. So the collaboration with the RISE SAP team, as we know, SAP has got multi-layer, different teams are there, ECS team, other teams are there, software team, and also like if the issues are there in the data side of the functional teams. So RISE collaboration is a very critical factor for our success. Anil, you can add here your experience.
So mainly I would like to add a few points on the four areas. One is like as Raghu has explained on the multiple mocks. So initially when we started our journey, we have refreshed our sandbox with the production data. And also we have set up one emergency system to handle any of our production related issues. So whenever we do any change on the to support the production issues, we used to import the same request even in the sandbox also, so that our instances stay across in general. So when we move or when we are doing the quality migration, we did one more refresh. One more copy of production data into quality system, so that we know what is the exact issue which we have come across in a sandbox, and we replicated the same over in the quality system. So likewise, we have done 2 to 3 mocks on our production data to make sure that everything is in line. And the second aspect is this RISE collaborations, because as we are moving from on-prem to the RISE environment, each and every box needs to be vetted by the RISE team, which they call it as a pre-processing. So whenever they are conducting the pre-processing, we need to be we need to provide them the notification much in advance. So, and during that time, the complete team must be available, because whenever they raise any concern or if they face any issues related to the coding or whatever it is, we need to rectify immediately, and we need to inform the RISE team saying that yes, the issue is resolved, so you can continue your activity. And we have very narrow window for during our production, where we need to resolve the issues on fly. So otherwise, our cutover window will increase and we will miss our deadline. So the RISE collaboration, along with PMMAF business users and GyanSys technical team, the close collaboration has helped us in completing all our cutover activities on time. And also regarding the downtime planning, we have reviewed, as Raghu said, it's like almost like a 400 line items of the downtime to-do activities, which we have reviewed multiple times along with the business users also, to make sure that they must be available in case if there is any issues. So we have almost made some 3 to 4 versions of our cutover plan, which was reviewed even with our top management, and we requested their approval to make the system down for the downtime period. And finally, with the close collaboration between GyanSys, SAP RISE team, and PMM business users, we could able to achieve the task within the planned downtime. And final thing is, as I mentioned, that business engagement is very important for the RISE migrations, because what happens is, like, if the concerned or the selected business users are not available, okay, where they have to perform some kind of a business transactions at the on fly, okay. Otherwise, because the business users has the knowledge, like what has happened during that time, on what scenario they have performed the transactions, like reversals and all. So business engagement is very critical in order to perform throughout the S4 migration project, not only limited to the cutover time, but throughout the migration project. Yeah.
Thank you, Anil. And I would overemphasize that business engagement and the teams mean, almost we've forgotten that your team, our team, right, has become one team kind of thing, and pretty much the business is fully engaged to step up the way. And whenever the critical thing is there, they came and helped us to complete the process so that they validate and confirm. So it's a huge thanks to the business engagement there. Okay, so if you go to the next slide, I think we're almost. So this is the team structure. Neeraj, you want to just highlight
Yeah, thank
here?
you. Yeah, I think a lot of elements were covered in the challenges, like talked about collaboration. I think deciding how the governance and the overall teams are going to play the roles is significant in the early part of the project. The way we designed this team was involvement of the CEOs was there from both sides of the house to sponsor the project. There was executive visibility, there was weekly reporting, there was quarterly, every month we had a steering committee meeting to see what the project direction was and what this leadership can help with on any elements of the project. So there was a clear visibility for everybody across the project on what is going on across the organization. And then designing the team in a way where project manager from GyanSys and project manager from Panasonic were in close coordination to ensure that all the tasks are making progress as per plan. We had the team structured on the Panasonic side by the groups like finance, sales, marketing, and we mirror image the same on GyanSys side of the house, where there was a assigned finance functional lead for the finance SME from Panasonic. So they worked very closely together on all elements such as testing, any changes that are required, data that is required. And that team was supported as a horizontal layer by the technical basis and security team from GyanSys. So this kind of model was essential to achieve a long duration 9 months project successfully on time. Now, the other part I would like to emphasize is that we had a center of excellence designed between GyanSys and Panasonic, headed by Raghu and Anil, so which worked closely to define what should be the innovations, what are the opportunities for future identified after the implementation. 95+% of the execution was done from low-cost center geographies like India, Philippines, and all that, thus reducing the overall cost of this project significantly. Typical organizations execute project in a 30-70 onshore-offshore ratio. In our case, we are proud to say that we executed project almost completely from the low-cost centers, that thereby reducing the cost at least by 30 to 40% overall for the project. On the next slide, please. I spoke a little bit about the governance during the team structure, but a structured, clear understanding of what will be the schedules, what would be the reporting, what data needs to be reported, what is of interest to Japan from a data perspective, what is of interest for Panasonic leadership to know the state of the project. All of that was well planned, and every week there was a report submitted to Panasonic. There was a bi-weekly optional meeting as well that we kept in case we needed to have more meetings for health tech, especially during the last 2 months of the project. These bi-weekly meetings came very handy. The PMO met on a weekly basis. There was the process scrum meetings every day where the functional teams were involved. So well-layered, well-structured governance approach towards the project, which provided information visibility, ability to identify and mitigate the risk early, issues sorted out early, helped the overall project in achieving the goals of the project. Next slide, please. And coupled with that is how we know that all of these projects, now as we know, for even if it's a brownfield project, there are changes happening on the system infrastructure side. There are some changes happening on the business partner, where the CVI has an impact on how the business will see the data. There are also some changes happening from process side, though minimal in a brownfield. It is important to make sure that the future system is easily, accessed, and the roles are well defined, so people know what roles they are going to be assigned, and they are trained in operating on the new system. So we took a train the trainer approach in this case for GyanSys to train a set of people who would then in turn train their own teams. We took this task seriously. Documentation of all the system processes, etc., was done. There was user aids provided to the business users, small pieces of videos, small pieces of documentation that they could access quickly to do certain tasks that they are responsible for. They were also given some demonstration. So early from the assessment itself, we started demonstrating the S4 system capabilities to the business users, and that continued throughout the project. There were hands-on exercises. They were also involved deeply in user acceptance testing, thus making sure that when the system is transitioned to S4, they are ready for the transition. The next slide, please. The key takeaways, again, Raghu and Anil, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, I think we covered most of the elements, again, Anil also, chipped in. So I think, key takeaways here, quickly, Anil, you don't have to spend a lot of time here, but.
Yeah, so what I would like to say here is the assessment, because our key success factor was the assessment, because assessment and the pre-preparation. So we spent almost like 4 to 5 months on the pre-preparation in through assessments. So for the first assessment was done by the GyanSys on our business processes and all, and the second one is by SAP on our infrastructure. So the assessment where we covered the complete our business processes was explained to GyanSys so that they can prepare a detailed report that includes what are our changes, what are the changes that are going to come in S4. So that detailed report has helped us a lot so that we know what we are going to do. And also we know what are the major changes, like customer creation is going to change to BP. Yes, there is a change in credit management. There is a change in HS codes. There is a change in the material length and all. So we know each and every detail, okay, what is going to come with S4HANA, so that we can plan accordingly. And also based upon the assessment results, because as Raghu stated that, yes, we have too much of customization, and the report was given in such a way to the so that the implementation team knows it. Okay, it's just kind of some user manual. They know in advance in which area there is a heavy customization and what are the technical difficulties and everything much in advance. So that our S4 migration journey has become very easy. And the second thing is based upon the assessment report, even we could able to start preparing the test scripts much in advance, so that these test scripts can be even used during our sandbox migration. So that is how we have done our sandbox testing, because we have prepared all our test scripts much in advance. And finally,
in the interest of time, because we have 5 minutes left,
I think
let's take some questions. I think there are a few questions which are there. I think
great
part
points.
of the,
thank you, Anil.
Yeah, great points. I think you will be able to talk through some of these questions as well, which are there. So if we can pull up the questions, somebody can pull up the questions on the screen, please.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And thank you. This really has been a great conversation so far. So thank you both. Thank you all for participating. We do actually have a lot of questions that I want to try to get to as many as possible before the top of the hour here. The first one here is, how many dry run rehearsals did you perform before the go live?
Yeah, so that I will take that. So as I pointed out, so we use the production data in the sandbox and quality. So all along every landscape, if you can, take that into consideration, it's almost like I would say 5 kind of cycles in the overall happened, because the way that we copied the data and looked into the cycles wise, I think so every sandbox or every box itself is like, if the production data is there, that's the kind of rehearsal that you can think of. We don't require to do again special for the production, because you are doing that part of your sandbox and quality boxes itself.
Perfect. Another one here, assume this was a standard conversion. What was business downtime end to end? A few days, a few hours? Just curious on that.
Anil, you want to take that business downtime?
Yeah, it was almost like 4 days. Okay, two working days and 1 weekend. Yeah, it's almost like 4 days. 4 days of downtime.
Excellent. And I think we have time for maybe one more. And I think this might be a great way to kind of summarize, kind of what we've talked about so far. What would be either GyanSys or the Panasonic's team recommendation for a company who are planning to embark on this S4 migration journey?
Yeah, that I will take, and then Anil, you can add here. So I think Anil pointed out that very clearly, the assessment of your systems, process, landscape is one key factor to lay out your foundation for how it is coming up. And assessment should not be only backward looking. Don't only look for your current systems. It should be forward looking also. You look at like what is coming out, what are the transformations are coming, how SAP roadmap is there, what are the SAP factors which are influencing the business process. It's not about the theory, it's about how you are going to have your transformation journey. So just brownfield does not mean that there is no transformation. There is a lot of transformation is there. So this is the very critical, like assessment, including the demos to the business users, looking at what is there, what is the current version, what is coming up, what is the SAP roadmap also, right? What is the target architecture of SAP? Knowing that target architecture not only the module level, the process level, and also the embedded analytics aspects, as well as looking at what do you have, how customized you have, what process you are using, and are you using everything which is already SAP is giving. So these are the kind of key aspects, Sean, which are needed so that you lay out the foundation, project plan, and the details, and you execute it. Anil, do you agree on that aspect?
You covered everything. Even I would say assessment, a detailed assessment. Well,
yeah. Thank you.
There's one question saying, did you move from SAP or were you already on S4? So we were moving from ECC, obviously.
Yes.
To answer your question, I think it also asked which version of S4 we moved to. So we moved to S4, SAP S4 2023 version, right?
Yep. Latest
Perfect.
version, and yeah.
Thank you all. This really has been a great discussion, but that is all the time that we have for questions. To our audience, if we didn't get to your questions, someone from the team will follow up with you as soon as possible. A special thank you to all of our panelists for joining us today. And on behalf of SAP Insider and GyanSys, thank you to our audience for your time. And we hope that you have a wonderful day.
thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.